Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being with us today. My name is Renee Yeoman. My topic of choice for my EDC4000 seminar project is Catering for Diversity. Within the school environment, catering for diversity is a critical social justice issue. Social justice may be defined as equality and fairness between human beings. It works on the universal principles that guide people in knowing what is right and what is wrong. It's about keeping a balance between groups of people in a society or a community. Social justice is an underlying principle for peaceful and prosperous coexistence within and among nations. We advance social justice when we remove barriers that people face because of gender, age, race, ethnicity, religion, culture, or disability.
The following policies and legislation, the Human Rights and Equal Opportunity Commission Act, the United Nations Convention of the Rights of the Child, and the Disability Discrimination Act, all dictate that all children have the right to be equally valued members of the education system. As a result of these policies, students with diverse learning needs have been integrated into mainstream education.
Equity and accessibility are imperative to inclusivity and critical when ensuring social justice is upheld within the school environment. Equity means all students are treated equally, fairly, and without judgment. Gender, age, academic ability, ethnicity, religious affiliation, socio-economic status, and disability do not affect the notion of equity. Accessibility allows for the utilisation of existing resources. Accessibility may be likened to a ramp upstairs. Stairs exist to get us to a desired location. The presence of a ramp makes this location or resource accessible for everyone. As a beginning teacher, it will be my duty to ensure that every student is given all they need to thrive, that students will not be discriminated against in any way, and that social justice always prevails.
My particular area of interest in relation to catering for diversity is disability and special needs. I'd always believed that catering for diversity was a critical role for us as educators, particularly for students with special needs or a disability. I was shocked to discover that students are often treated inadequately or not provided with the things they need to thrive. I was shocked and saddened by this discovery. Catering for diversity is complex, elusive, and challenging, but our utmost responsibility as teachers, mentors, and role models. Upholding social justice for each and every student must be our priority. Diversity and special needs should be embraced, not avoided, and should most certainly be catered for within the school environment.
The issue that I encountered on my professional experience at a small public school on the outskirts of Newcastle in New South Wales demonstrated a scenario where a student was discriminated against due to his disability. The parents of a student with spina bifida, let's call him Cooper, approached the school, which did not have disabled access at the time, for enrolment. The family reported they had contacted 6 other schools, 2 private, 4 public, and were turned away from every one. The school welcomed the student with open arms, promising to attain the necessary resources to enable him to attend the school and have everything he needed to thrive. Cooper's story has inspired me to seek ways in which we may rectify scenarios where students are not treated fairly or are turned away due to their special needs. I feel it is a horrendous example of social justice not being upheld within the school context. Spina bifida is Latin for split spine, where the spinal cord and nerves are exposed on the surface of the back instead of being encased in the spinal column. In Cooper's case, he's completely unable to walk and is confined to a wheelchair at all times. In addition to his physical limitations, his cognitive, social and emotional development is also affected. Cooper has a twin sister, let's call her Lucy, who is not affected by spina bifida. When the family tried to enrol Cooper and Lucy in kindergarten, the 6 schools who turned them away didn't say no to Cooper outright. They were aware that that's illegal. They were simply not welcoming and said things such as, "We recommend enrolment elsewhere," or "We can't cater for his needs," or even, "It's too much for us." Simply heartbreaking. Where's the social justice in this scenario? One school suggested they could take Lucy and not Cooper. I'm disgusted by this and appalled that this is taking place in our education system in this day and age. What struck me was that the school that Cooper ended up enrolling at didn't have the facilities he needed at the time of their initial inquiry. The difference was the principal, a wonderful, motivated man in his late 50s, let's call him Mr. B, who desires to do what he can for each and every student. He immediately enrolled Cooper at the small public school, without question, embracing, welcoming and supporting the family in every way possible. Mr. B did the research, he sought the funding, he did the hard yards. It wasn't an easy process, but he never, not for a moment, doubted that his school could provide everything Cooper needed. Cooper's condition is severe, but the principal has gone above and beyond to enable him to attend school just like his twin sister, and it's been simply heartwarming and inspiring to see. The $300,000 that the school spent on ramps to enable Cooper to get around pales into insignificance when we consider the ramifications of doing nothing. I simply could not stand by and have students be discriminated against or miss an opportunity because of their special needs or disability. Mr. B definitely did the right thing. Something that concerned me during my time in the classroom was the many students within the class environment which clearly had special needs but they'd not been assessed or didn't have an official diagnosis. The term to describe this is imputed, where families are reluctant to acknowledge there is an issue or a need for a special accommodation. In one particular class, the aide was present to assist one student with ADHD, who was from an abusive family situation, which has since been rectified. This student was also performing well below expected outcomes. However, the vast array of imputed special needs of the other students in the class meant that the aide was often too busy to attend to the students who was actually present to assist. This situation outlines an ongoing and elusive issue with accessibility and equity. How can we allocate resources and funding where it's needed if special needs aren't adequately identified? Unfortunately, imputed special needs are very common. The implementation of standards for teachers helps to ensure that educators are upholding the expected level of achievement and utilising best practice. Standards relevant when catering for diversity, special needs and disability include Standard 1. Know students and how they learn. We need to differentiate to identify and meet the needs of our diverse groups of learners and support full participation of students, particularly those with a disability or special needs. Standard 3. Plan for and implement effective teaching and learning. We need to help students achieve their personal best by implementing strategies that cater for them as individuals. Planning is key. Standard 4. Create and maintain supportive and safe learning environments. It is vital that we can support full participation for all our students within an environment where they feel safe and nurtured. Standard 5. Assess, provide feedback and report on student learning. We must ensure we can make consistent and comparable judgments to interpret student data and ensure learning goals are at the right benchmark for each student. Standard 6. Engage in professional learning. Improving our practice is a career-long endeavour. It's particularly important to seek professional development within the special education field whenever we can. Standard 7. Engage professionally with colleagues, parents, carers and the community. Parents and carers of students with special needs or a disability must be involved in our teaching networks, as we also utilise the community to attain any resources available to us to better meet the needs of our students.
There is a vast array of literature focused on special needs in catering for diversity. I've not encountered any literature that does not identify the importance of catering for each and every student. The particular issue of not catering for diversity through avoiding a student or passing the buck is an obvious and horrendous breach of the student and family's right to social justice. Going the extra mile, providing whatever a student needs, should be an automatic response. We must also ensure that diversity is acknowledged as a positive thing. Catering for diversity is challenging, but it's vital that we do it, and we do it well.
Embracing and working with the vast range of differences within our classroom, age, growth, development, abilities, social and cultural background, talents, likes, dislikes, etc., is undoubtedly one of the biggest challenges faced by teachers. There's no denying it's a monumental challenge, particularly for teachers working with a student with a disability or special needs. Equality of opportunity does not and must not mean equality of treatment. This is an interesting aspect of equality with regards to special needs. Although we must treat every child the same, the differentiation required to truly cater for the needs of our students is monumental. We must ensure we aren't using the same program, strategies and techniques for every student. One size does certainly not fit all. Catering for differences in our classrooms involves appreciating principles of social justice and equity. Diversity is a quintessential aspect of every classroom. Diversity must not be viewed as a hindrance to learning, but a process which may enable the needs of every student to be met through identifying and subsequently catering for the vast array of learning needs. As educators, we possess the responsibility to provide alternatives and opportunities for students to walk or wheel their own paths to reach the same learning goal. From a social justice perspective, I find it appalling that schools can turn students away when it's absolutely possible to cater for students with a little time, effort and understanding. I'm not alone in this belief. The Melbourne Declaration on Educational Goals for Young Australians states, with commitment and hard work from children and young people and their parents, carers and families, from schools, teachers, communities, business and all Australian governments, all young Australians will be provided the opportunity to reach their full potential. Australian governments, in collaboration with all school sectors, commit to promoting equity and excellence in Australian schooling. This means that all Australian governments and all school sectors must provide all students with access to high-quality schooling that is free from discrimination based on gender, language, sexual orientation, pregnancy, culture, ethnicity, religion, health, socio-economic background, geographic location, or disability. The nationally consistent collection of data is a positive step forward to promote equity and accessibility and uphold social justice. Students with a disability or special needs and requiring a special accommodation of any kind may be catered for. The funding, resources and interventions may only be allocated fairly and appropriately if accurately documented. This is both an exciting and encouraging time to be entering the teaching profession.
The nationally consistent collection of data was launched in 2013. It is currently being implemented in 70% of New South Wales public schools. In 2015, it will become mandatory for NCCD to be completed annually in all schools across the nation. The New South Wales Department of Education and Communities Learning and Engagement team have highlighted the National Education and Disability Reform, which encompasses professional teaching standards, empowering local schools, performance and accountability, Australian curriculum, national data collection, students with disability, combined with the DDA, Disability Discrimination Act, Disability Standards for Education, the National Disability Strategy, and the National Disability Insurance Scheme. I see this as the way forward for ensuring we may adequately cater for special needs and disability, whilst upholding the principles of social justice.
With disability being such a complex issue, I've included a handout with a detailed definition of disability to further your understanding. I've also included some documents to assist you, identifying the broad categories of disability and also a flowchart to identify how to seek assistance if you think a student may have a disability or a special need. I've also included the contact details of Linda Smith, the New South Wales Disability Learning and Support Officer, who will be able to assist you when the time comes. How can we ensure equality in our schools? Through legislation, the teaching standards which clarify and elaborate legal obligations, catering for diversity, ensuring no student is left behind, and being the eyes, ears and voice of students. But how can we do all that?
Never fear, I have a plan that we can begin right now. It's predominantly a mindset, and once you have that, the desire to do the rest will be easy. This is life-changing stuff. Be excited. The Action Research Cycle has helped me formulate this plan. We've identified the issue, we've identified what the literature tells us, now we move to the planned action, which will, in turn, improve our teaching and learning.
My plan has 3 steps. The first step involves being like Mr. B. If I encounter a student in my class or at my school that has special needs or a disability, I plan to follow it through as much as I can, emulating the actions of Mr. B to identify and source any possible support and ensure that social justice prevails. The second step involves identifying the special accommodations that are required for students with special needs or disabilities. I need to document everything, and to do this I plan to ensure the nationally consistent collection of data is implemented in my school to help accommodate for the vast array of special needs. This is a promising step forward. And the third step is that I plan to utilise the program I created for EDX4170 about Jessica's Box, a book by Peter Carnavas, which promotes equality and normalises disability, which in turn helps to ensure special needs are catered for. As part of the program I compiled about the book Jessica's Box by Peter Carnavas, I discovered that the Cerebral Palsy Alliance has recently had the book re-illustrated to include Jessica in a wheelchair. The Cerebral Palsy Alliance has also got a program that they run within schools which identifies the needs and desires of students with special needs and helps promote the notion that we are all, in fact, the same. What a wonderful way to utilise a local organisation, combining my program with the program of the Cerebral Palsy Alliance and the workshop run by the organisation. I hope the impact for the students will be greater and evoke long-lasting change.
The timeline for my plan includes some steps that will be ongoing. The nationally consistent collection of data collection within my school, and contacting other local organisations. Things that I can start in the short term, which will begin immediately, is the special accommodations documentation and NCCD implementation, and the utilisation of the Jessica's Box program and the Cerebral Palsy Alliance workshops. Things that will be long-term as part of the plan will be the NCCD training and professional development.
Overcoming this issue is a long-term process. I believe if we can normalise disability and special needs and help our students embrace, accept and support students, whatever their needs may be, that we can create a culture and generation in which every student may be successfully integrated into public schools. What is normal anyway? As part of my plan, I've identified the importance of collaborative networks. We must all work together. We must use the vast array of professionals and networks available to us to adequately meet the needs of our diverse groups of learners. Communication is critical as we ensure parents, carers and teachers keep communication open and ongoing. And the support of my school principal will be critical, as they are essentially the gateway to seeking support, funding and assistance for students requiring special accommodation. A SWOT analysis helps us to identify strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats for a plan. This has enabled me to identify areas which I can improve and hurdles I need to be aware of when executing my plan. Being prepared for challenges helps us to tackle them more effectively. Strengths of my plan include: the plan is simple and practical. It aligns with relevant literature which states that catering for diversity is monumentally important. It is critical to equity and accessibility. It promotes equality. It upholds social justice. It promotes best practice for us as educators, and it can commence immediately.
An added bonus is that the plan is free. There are no costs involved to individuals or schools.
Weaknesses for my plan include that it is a monumental ongoing process. There is a large amount of commitment and determination required. There are large time constraints for already busy teachers, and there may be a reluctance by teachers to actually get involved. I can see many opportunities within my plan. I hope to assist my school to implement the nationally consistent collection of data. I hope to promote the Jessica's Box program through the Cerebral Palsy Alliance, as well as the program that I created from EDC4000. I plan on contacting local agencies and organisations to see if there are any other workshops or programs they can assist us with. And I plan on promoting equity and accessibility for all of my students. The threats I foresee with my plan is a potential for lack of support, the conditions or disabilities being imputed, which will be an ongoing issue, and the fear or stigma of being labelled, which will also be a limitation. Upon reflection of this issue and my plan, I've learnt that I possess a strong conviction about equality. I've learnt that the issue of prejudice and lack of equity, accessibility and action is far more prevalent than I could ever care to imagine. On an encouraging note, however, it is wonderful to see many teachers and professionals working to rectify this. I'm certainly not alone in this plight. I've learned that my profession is something I am deeply passionate about, and that there are countless teachers whose heart to change the world for the better will make real and lasting change for our society. This was an inspiring discovery. I'm deeply moved by this experience with this amazing family and school community, and I feel honoured to have had this wonderful outcome modelled for me in such an amazing way. We can be the difference. The Action Research Cycle assisted the development of my rectification proposal. It was helpful to have the framework in which to place everything. I naturally like to sort, categorise and organise. This process was made simpler and made my plan more effective due to the Action Research Cycle. It's definitely a tool I will utilise in my beginning teaching years. As a new educator, I will closely document any scenarios, events or behaviours that indicate a special accommodation may be required. Liaising with parents will be critical to this process. Keeping on top of paperwork is going to be difficult, particularly with the NCCD, but vital to ensuring each and every student is receiving the assistance and support they require. I will be the voice for students with special needs or a disability. catering for diversity is critical for us as educators, but, even more importantly, it's critical for upholding social justice.